Okay, so I will admit the first book was a bust. I'm so sorry, babes. But I am really, really excited to read this one. I think out of the three books, this is the one. And out of the whole list, this is one of the ones that I'm most excited to read just because it seems really interesting. I've seen snippets of the movie. And if you guys remember, book number nine is the book number nine is The Green Mile by Stephen King. I am so excited to read this. I know nothing about this, but I know that it sounds really interesting just based on the synopsis. And the fact that Stephen King originally did 6 self-contained monthly installments. So he like put this in a newspaper and then he was like, wow, people really like this. And then put it in a book is so interesting to me. Without further ado though, we are definitely going to get into this. Also, the illustration's pretty cool right here. Love that. We're gonna get comfy, we're gonna get cozy, we're gonna read a little bit of this, probably not too much because now it is 11:36. I'm so sorry about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I knew it wasn't gonna work for me. I'm just not a sci-fi person. It was super sci-fi. Like there was no like, oh my god, like it's, you know, like sci-fi adjacent. It was sci-fi, way too sci-fi. And I do feel bad because I know like that's one of the ones that people really like, but it's just not for me. Maybe eventually I'll give it another shot, but I don't like sci-fi. I don't know. It's just like my least probably read genre ever. I don't even like the movies that much. Let's read this one now. Even in the synopsis, it talks about this, that this guy oversaw 78 executions through the electric chair. Like that's crazy. All right, I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting pretty tired. We did read one chapter of this tonight, which is not bad. The writing is a little hard to get into because, you know, it's Stephen King and it's old Stephen King, so it's very, very descriptive. But basically, it just went over kind of the premises of the book, and that's pretty much all I have for you. Um, we have a long way to go. This is almost a 400-page book. I'm leaving off about chapter or page 30, but I really didn't read that many pages. Only 4 pages are read, but it's a start. I will check back in with you guys a little bit more tomorrow, probably with an update of some sort. I would like to try to get some more of this read, but I am very intrigued and very happy to be starting this because this seems very, very interesting. I am so excited to read more of The Green Mile by Stephen King. Okay, I can't with my hair though. Like we gotta do something with this because I don't know what this is doing, but I look like a lion. Let's quickly put this. Much better, way more manageable. Like it's still kind of frizzy, but like that's just my hair for you. But it looks much nicer. Anyways, since I last updated you guys, I haven't had a chance to read at all. Also, I think it's so funny that I think I showed you guys already that the bookmark I chose to use is I like my books spicy and coffee icy, in a really depressing book about inmates and executions. Love that. Anyways, the vibe for today is basically just to read and then go from there. I will see how far we get into. Last I checked in, we were on chapter 2 and I was on page 27. So the plan is to read and be comfy and cozy while my daughter is sleeping. So it feels like forever since I've read this because it basically has been. I have been so busy reading other books. I haven't had the attention span to read The Green Mile. That being said, I did dabble a little bit more last night and I read like a couple chapters and it is picking up a lot. I am really intrigued. The problem that I'm having is with Stephen King's writing specifically, it is very, very descriptive. So there becomes an issue where he's yammering on about something and it's kind of hard to get like read between the lines and get the meaning that he's trying to say because there's just a lot of like excess stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be in there. But I am having a really good time. For some reason, I'm not finding the first name in here, but I just met Delpacro. I think that's how you say his name. The wiry like French man. I think he's French. Yeah, he is French. Anyways, I just got to the part where you meet him. He ends up, you know, getting more acquainted with his jail cell. The corrupt guard Percy is beating him up and really like not being very kind to him. And that's basically where I've gotten at the moment. Like I said, I am enjoying it. I do think it is really not really fun. I do think this is a really good read. I'm just having a little bit of trouble kind of going through this. But anyways, we will go ahead and we will read a little bit more today while I am waiting for my daughter and my husband to get home. My daughter is sleeping. My husband's on his way home. So perfect time to get a little bit of reading done. I'm currently on chapter 9 of part 2, I believe. Yeah, so we're on chapter 9 of part 2 of the story. But yeah, let's kind of get into it. I do have my handy dandy Alani. This is the blue slush flavor. Not my favorite, but I will take what I can when it comes to the Costco packs because they are a pretty good deal. Delicious. You might dabble a little bit and kind of read something in between just to kind of keep my mind a little bit of a break, but I'm hoping to get a bit more reading done. But anyways, let's get into it. See, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about when it comes to Stephen King's writing and why it's so weird. So they're talking about when Wild Billy comes to the prison and like how it was a really eventful situation, you know? And then randomly in the middle of the text, he just starts talking about his penis and dealing with his UTI and it being swollen and blah, blah, blah. Like, this man is infatuated with talking about penises because I even remember when I was reading It by him, which I never finished, he talked about penises quite often and very inappropriate things. I don't know if it was for, like, the shock factor back in the day, but it's so weird that, like, you're like, yeah, so Billy the Kid was supposed to come here. Oh, yeah, and I'm dealing with my UTI and my groin is burning. What? Anyways, that's pretty much my only update right now. It's so weird to me. And he does this throughout like the entire series and like all his stories. Like he'll be talking about one thing and then goes off on a tangent about something weird and then becomes really descriptive about weird things and goes back to the original topic and then goes on another tangent, and it just makes it really difficult to kind of keep track of everything because there's so many different things going on. So I ended up reading a little bit more. Sorry I haven't updated you guys. I really just haven't been reading physical copy books. I've been mostly reading on my Kindle, but I did read a little bit more of The Green Mile. I got through part 3. We are on part 4. Part 4 is The Bad Death of Edward Delacroix. I am actually really enjoying this. There is a lot of foreshadowing, which I also really enjoy. Edgecombe seems to kind of tell you things ahead of it happening, and then you're trying to figure out like why that situation happened. And I find it very, very, very interesting. There are aspects to this which I wasn't expecting, like the fact that Kofi seems to have like some form of like healing situation. Like he puts his hand on the guard's groin and completely heals him from like his UTI or STD or whatever it is that he had, which again I find really, really interesting. I was not expecting that. We are about like halfway through. So the goal for tonight is to read like an hour or two of this before bed, watch a little bit more True Blood, and go from there. I am going to have a lot more time to read this coming week to finish this book. We've been on it for a while. I'm so sorry. I've just been dealing with getting sick multiple times and just, being a mom. But the goal is to read for a couple more hours of this and see kind of where we're at. I am starting on page 208. So that's what I'm talking about when I say like this book is really interesting, because coffee has like these healing powers or whatever. I'm not exactly sure like what all that is about. That he ends up bringing Mr. Jingles back. So it's really interesting reading this, and Edgecombe is a really interesting narrator because he foreshadows a lot, tells you things ahead of time that you're just trying to figure out like how that happened, and it's just really interesting read. He does repeat himself quite a bit with situations. I don't necessarily know if he's the most reliable narrator, at least right now, but this is a really like odd read, but I am really enjoying it. It took me a little bit to get into it, but I am really enjoying this so far. Percy is such a POS for what he does to Delacroix. Like, I understand that obviously they have some issues with each other. He has an issue with Delacroix, but oh my god, what a horrible, horrible scene. Very, very graphic. I'm really interested to watch the movie, but like I'm kind of hesitant because like what the fuck did I just read? This horrible. So it is days later. I still have not finished this book. I did get a little bit further. We are on 250. I think there's about 400 pages, so I have about 150 pages of this left. We really need to get this read because I have no more checkouts of this and it's due tomorrow. So we are on page 250. It's chapter 9 of I think part 4. So we're almost on to part 5. Which is like the main bulk of what we have left here. I don't think there's another part. I think there's 5 parts of this. And the story has gotten really, really, really good. I don't think I updated you guys on kind of like thoughts and opinions on this. So let me look at my handy dandy notebook and I'll let you guys know kind of my thoughts on this. So it feels like my main kind of like feelings at this point is just that Stephen King does a lot of foreshadowing. Like they're talking about how Percy's like up to no good and there's some stuff going on with Percy, but you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, which I really like that you know events before they happen. And then you're left kind of questioning like how those events came into fruition. So it's really, really interesting. Other than that, I don't really have any other opinions on this yet. It's just crazy. There's so many things about this that are just really like appalling. I got to the part where Delacroix basically just gets fried. Well, he doesn't basically get fried. He gets fried. They don't even use like Percy doesn't even put sponge. He doesn't put sponge. He doesn't even put water on the sponge, and he like literally fries him. And so there's like big repercussions for that, and they all get really pissed. So at this point in time, he's supposed to be leaving, but Stephen King is foreshadowing that that's not happening. That he still stays there and some other crap happens. So I'm really excited to see what all happens at this point. This is just going to be me basically just finishing this hopefully either today or tomorrow. And I will give you guys some updates as I kind of go. As you saw earlier, I was getting a little bit of reading done while I was waiting for my husband for him to finish his appointment. So I have The Green Mile here. We did end up reading a little bit, so we're going to read a little bit more while I wait for my daughter to wake up from her nap. And I'm hoping we can get quite a bit read. I am on page 282, so I have about like 120-ish pages left. So we read about 30 pages, either like in total from like this morning and like yesterday, so that's pretty good.
Yes, I changed. I was severely uncomfortable. Plus, I'm hoping to get to the gym a little bit later, so hopefully this will be the incentive I need to get to the gym. But anyways, I am on 2.99, so we are going to keep a reading for the time being and see like where I end up a little bit later because my daughter's down for a nap and I'm hoping to get more read, but we will see. So let's get to reading again. This book is definitely not what I thought it was going to be. I mean, I am really, really enjoying it. I think it's really, really good, but parts of it are so odd. The language that Stephen King uses, I feel like at the time, because this was made in 1996, I feel like it was just for the shock factor. And, it's very vulgar and I mean racist and a bunch of different other stuff. So I feel like at the time that he was writing a lot of these books, I feel like he was trying to go for that shock factor so people would want to pick it up because it was so ahead of the time. And I mean, it's obscene at times. Anyways, all that being said, I am on part 6 of the book. This is Coffee on the Mile. And I believe this is the last segment of the book because these were made into installments. So this is the last installment. I am on page 323. Yeah, I'm on 323. So I'm definitely going to finish this today. I'm going to get a bit more reading and I will share my thoughts at the end. But I'm thinking this is going to be like about a 3 rating. I'm actually really disappointed because I was hoping this would be a little bit better. But outside of the descriptions and like I said, Stephen King's vulgarity, I feel like this is just an average read. I don't understand why it was as successful as it was outside of just being ahead of the time. I am going to watch the movie too, which I feel like the movie is going to be better than the book for once. But we will see. But yeah, I'm going to finish this. I will update you guys on my thoughts as I read. Hopefully my daughter will wake up from her nap a little bit later so I can get a little bit more reading done, but we're going to finish this today for sure. So after a really long process, we finally ended up finishing The Green Mile by Stephen King. I did end up rating this 3 stars. I feel like specifically with Stephen King, and I don't know if it's just because of the time period or like if it's just kind of like him in a nutshell because I've only really ever read it, which I never finished, and then I've read The Green Mile by him. But it seems like a lot of the times when he's describing things or there's situations in plays, he is just writing things for like the shock value because at the time that this came out it was in 1996. Obviously it was a very different time period. Like there wasn't really a lot of like cussing in literature, there wasn't really like a lot of vulgarity. So I feel like a lot of the times when he's giving descriptions it just seems like it's put in there just for having people going, oh my gosh, like I can't believe he said that. And I don't know, like it kind of just feels very performative. Like I said, this is my only time reading Stephen King. I haven't really finished another book. My only other one, like I said, was It. So, like I said, I don't know if maybe that's just him in a nutshell, if that's how he enjoys writing, if like he outgrew that. But it just feels very weird. Like for instance, he talks about like orgies, or he uses RAPE as like a description, or he like uses like cuss words and like weird spots. Like at one point, the warden's wife, Melinda, I believe her name is, she's talking about having sex with all of them. Like, I understand to a certain extent why certain events happened, or like for that instance, like why it was done, because she was kind of losing her mind and going a little mad because of the tumor. But like I said, I just feel like if it was any other author, there would be different descriptions being used, and there would be like different things going on that weren't part of the descriptions. Another weird thing was when he had UTI, some of the ways that King was describing it were just really, really, really weird. And that's really honestly my only con against the writing. I just find it very abrasive, and I just didn't really like it. It took me out of the immersion with the amount of description that was being used. And so because of that, it really took me out of the main storyline plot. That being said, I mean, clearly this is a book about, I mean, there's racism. It's a very corrupt system. a man is set to a man is sent to execution that was innocent, but because of his race, they were not able to exonerate him. And that's really sad because he didn't need to be executed because clearly he wasn't the one that did the crime. Not even just that, but also cruelty. Cruelty. I cannot say that word right now, but you know what I'm trying to say. With Percy just not doing things that he was supposed to by the book, and he knew that he should have, but he just didn't care because he didn't like the guy, and just like a corrupt guard. And I really did like that aspect a lot. It's a very dark concept. I'm sure at the time, in 1996 again, that just wasn't something that was talked about. Like, people knew that the system was corrupt, but I don't think that it was that common to be talking about it in the media. Again, I'm not sure, but a lot of dark elements that still stay true to this day, which is crazy because that was 30 years ago. And I did like the representation of the rest of the guards trying to do things the right way and to have people go out with dignity, because that is a really important thing, especially since it wasn't their place to pass judgment. Their judgment has already been placed. And throughout the book, Edgecombe really does a really good job of that. The other thing I really liked about this particular installment, because it was originally a newspaper clipping, it came out in 6 segments. So Edgecombe, which is the narrator of the story, he's the main supervisor guard. He's the head guard of all the guards at in the Green Mile area. He did a really good job of foreshadowing, telling you that events were going to happen, and then kind of taking his time, kind of getting to the point where he talks about like why said thing happens. Like, pretty early on, I believe, like within the first part or two, that something happens later on with Percy, but he doesn't tell you what happens until like literally like the very end in part 6. You get like halfway through. I think there's like 13 parts if I remember correctly, and you find out what happens. And I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, you knew something bad was going to happen, but you didn't necessarily know how. I will say the supernatural aspect to it, I definitely was not expecting, and I thought that was really interesting. All in all, I did have a really good time reading this. It just was very, very, very long, and I think if, like I said, maybe Stephen King's just not for me, but I did give it a shot. I did like it enough. Now we're on to book number 8, so there we are. I'm so happy to be done. It took a while, and I'm so sorry for that, but life and having a baby and everything else, it's hard to have the brain capacity by the end of the day to sit down and read. So I've just been reading a lot of books that I don't have to pay attention to. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the bell to get notified when we are updating. We're on book number 8 now. Yay. And consider following. I would greatly appreciate that. I do try to come out with these as often as I can, and we will have more videos in the future. But bye. I'll see you guys next time.